Hey, baseball fans. On today's episode, we're going to start by looking at Home Run Derby, then look at the career of a man who won the Home Run Derby a record 3 times, Ken Griffey Jr. Also, we've been thinking we may need a little more trivia on this there podcast of baseball history and trivia. So we got a little trivia question for you to start the show. The small town of Denora, Pennsylvania, with a population all of 4,500 people, bills itself as the home of champions, primarily because of its birthplace of 2 baseball greats, Ken Griffey Jr. and what other Hall of Famer that was born almost 50 years earlier. Our first pitch today covers Home Run Derby.
The Home Run Derby, they just celebrated their 40th anniversary. And how do you think you're going to cover all of that history in a first pitch?
Well, you're right. The Home Run Derby deserves an episode in and of itself, maybe 2. But I didn't say the Home Run Derby. I said Home Run Derby.
I'm feeling some semantics coming on here.
Yeah, you think I'm being a little sneaky, huh?
I do.
Maybe just a little bit. On a separate note, did you know there's a Japanese video game developed by Disney called Winnie the Pooh's Home Run Derby? It was released in 2007.
Seriously, I mean, we are huge Disney families, and I know they do anything for $1, but I hope we're not going to talk about that.
They would do anything for $1, but they won't do that, to quote Meatloaf.
Good song.
I am going to cover the 1960 TV show Home Run Derby that many may not know about, but is pretty cool. So for 26 episodes from January to July 1960, this show featured some of the great baseball hitters of all time. It was filmed with greats like Hank Aaron, Mickey Mantle, Ernie Banks, Frank Robinson, Gil Hodges, Deuce Snyder, all these Hall of Famers. 19 players in all, and 9 of them would go on to the Hall of Fame, and they would see who could hit the most home runs one-on-one in Wrigley Field. Now, it's not Wrigley Field in Chicago.
Yeah.
It was Los Angeles's Wrigley Field, which from 1925 to 1965, it was home of the Los Angeles Angels of the Pacific Coast League, and then the first year of the Major League Baseball's California Angels. And that was in 1961. But each episode of Home Run Derby would pit 2 batters together, like the first episode, Mickey Mantle versus Willie Mays. And each time at bat, if you didn't hit a home run or swung at the ball and didn't hit it, it was considered an out. After 3 outs, the next batter would be up, and they'd go back and forth for a fictional 9 innings. Meanwhile, the other batter was on the side being interviewed by the host.
So you have one guy hitting and another guy sitting right there. This is all going on at the same time?
Yeah, just watching his opponent bat.
Were they wearing their uniforms?
Yeah.
Huh. And I can't wait to go watch this.
It is. It's all on YouTube.
Okay.
So you can watch every episode.
Oh.
If you're so inclined.
I have a funny feeling I know what we'll be doing tonight, listeners.
So if a batter won, he got $2,000, and you could come back to the next episode to face a different hitter. Bonuses occurred for hitting 3 or more homers in a row.
Was it filmed during the off season?
Yeah, it was filmed right before the 1960 season.
Oh, okay.
Now, Mickey Mantle hit the most homers on the show. He had 45 homers over 5 matchups. Hank Aaron won the most money, a whopping $13,500. And now this went to the player, not charity. Then salaries were appreciably lower. The matchups are crazy. Baseball greats, Mantle versus Mays, Harmon Killebrew versus Mantle, Hank Aaron versus Eddie Matthew. Even the players not as well remembered today, like take Jackie Jansen of the Red Sox. He was a 3-time All-Star at the time. He had been the American League MVP too, just 2 years before. So Home Run Derby only was in syndication for 6 months in 1960. A big reason is because the producer and announcer host, Mark Scott, passed away at age 45 of a heart attack. Now, its legacy is that it did help inspire 25 years later the Home Run Derby that we know today as part of All-Star Week. Hello and welcome to Fungos and Fastballs, the podcast of baseball history and trivia. I'm your host, Jerry Dines. Let's jump into today's episode. Today's episode, we look into the career of a true Hall of Famer whose tremendous play was matched by his charm and style and marketability that changed the celebrity status of baseball players. Yes, I'm talking about the kid, George Kenneth Griffey Jr. I think this is our 7th Hall of Famer, Brooke, in our podcast.
Yay!
So we just have 347 to go.
No. Oh, that's a lot. And they keep adding them on every year.
That's true. You got to keep up. Now, old Red Sox fan will point out that early in his career, Ted Williams' nickname was the Kid. He had several nicknames, the Splendid Splinter and others. But we're talking about Ken Griffey here.
I think there are some other famous kids out there. For example, Billy the Old West gunslinger. And of course, how could we not talk about Daniel LaRusso, the Karate Kid?
Billy the Kid couldn't hit a good curveball.
You don't know that.
So, as I mentioned in our trivia question, Griffey was born in Denora, Pennsylvania, the son of Ken Griffey Sr., who was a member of the Big Red Machine in those championship teams of 1975 and 1976. So Jr. was introduced to baseball at a young age in those Cincinnati Red clubhouses. He became a high school phenom in baseball. He was the United States High School Player of the Year in '87 and also played football as a great wide receiver. He was offered scholarships to play in college, but he passed when the Seattle Mariners chose him to be the first overall selection in the 1987 draft. By age 19, just 2 years later, Seattle had called him up to be their starting center fielder.
That's pretty young, 19. So he did spend 2 seasons in the minors. Did you know that according to MLB, there are only 24 players that have gone straight to the show from the draft?
24? Wow.
24. And this year, the Angels pitcher Ryan Johnson was one of them.
Debuting on opening day, right?
Correct. And back in 2020, there was Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Great trivia.
Thank you.
Well, getting Griffey was huge for the city of Seattle. The Mariners were an expansion team in 1977. 12 seasons later, they had never even had a winning record.
And we talked about the Seattle baseball environment back on episode 14 with the Pilots, who eventually went to Milwaukee. So this is why they had a new team again.
That's right. Well, Griffey, by the next year after his rookie year, was batting over 300. He never looked back. That year, he had a WAR, or wins above replacement, over 5.
A wins above replacement. That really doesn't help me. And maybe you could explain it for some people out there?
Yeah, it's a common stat. It's going to come up whenever you talk about Hall of Famers because it's used so often as a metric in their selection these days. But many may not know it. So again, as I mentioned, it's wins above replacement. And it's sometimes used to compare people from different eras. It's basically how many wins that player would add to your team's total compared to an average replacement player.
Oh, okay.
That year or over the course of a career.
Oh.
Yeah, so the average position player is just a WAR of 2, whereas if you are a 5 or more, you're considered superstar. So your team, because of you, won 5 more games that year.
Oh, I see. And what was his again?
What was, well, he had high numbers throughout his career over that, in Seattle. As a comparison, Aaron Judge last year had a WAR of 9.7, Ohtani 7.8. And those are the kinds of numbers that he would achieve through multiple years throughout the 1990s. But it wasn't just his electrifying offense that made Griffey great. Over 40 home runs, 6 years in the 90s, including 56 homers back-to-back in 1997, 1998. But his aggressive defense, he would make diving catches, jump up, hitting the wall to steal home runs. He would win Gold Gloves 10 times every year of the 1990s.
Wow. Listeners, you can catch us on Instagram and see his highlight reel. One of the greatest is called the Spider-Man catch, where
Yeah.
he jumps to the wall and he looks like he's Spider-Man against the wall. It was in a game versus the Rangers in 91.
Yeah, that's always talked about.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, he was so aggressive throwing his body into it that one of the catches versus the Orioles in 1995 led to an injury where he fractured his left wrist. Multiple fragments, the need for surgery with 7 screws the next day. He was back playing less than 3 months, weeks before they expected it to come back. So let's talk about some other incredible moments in Griffey's career. A year into Junior's career, 1990, trivia and history were achieved. The Mariners decided to sign Ken Griffey Sr. Now, Sr. was released from the Reds at age 40, and with that signing, Griffey Sr. and Jr. became the first father and son to play simultaneously on the same team. That amazes me. I really thought there'd be some lesser-known early 20th century team like the Brooklyn Tip Tops or the Newark Peppers that would have had some old guy and his son playing, but this was the first time. Particularly rough is that Ken Griffey Sr. was released mid-season by the Reds right in the middle of their 1990 championship season. So he didn't get a ring then. He had gotten a ring earlier with the Reds in the 70s. But still pretty cool playing with your son over the next year, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Griffey Sr. batted right before Junior, and I could imagine, Senior getting on first base and then Junior hitting and sort of getting there. Come on, Dad, let's move, get moving, because I'll tell you, Griffey Jr. was a speedster.
Interviews with Ken Griffey Sr. show he was very excited, very proud to play with his son. I kind of feel the same way when I play Ticket to Ride with my boys. It's
That's it.
Pretty much the same emotions.
Tears in your eyes.
Also, more history was made on September 14th, 1990, when it was bound to happen. Griffey Sr. and Jr. hit back-to-back home runs. Now, in 1994, jumping ahead a little, Jr. was having one of his best seasons. 40 homers by mid-August. He was on pace for 58 homers. At the time, this was before the later 90s and the home run race, but the single-season record was Roger Maris at 61. So things looked great for Griffey to compete for that. What could go wrong?
I think it's the same thing that happened to Tony Gwynn, our episode 15, who was batting a 400 season. The darn strike.
Yeah, Tony Gwynn possibly could have made 400. He could have.
He was going for it.
Yeah, that strike. Other great moments. Junior won the Home Run Derby, a record 3 times. We mentioned that earlier. 1994, 98, and 1999. But it was the 1993 appearance in Oriole Park that was pretty remarkable. He hit the ball over the right field. There's the B&O warehouse, this brick-lined warehouse. No one's ever hit that wall with a homer, and Griffey hit it with a 465-foot blast. Now, Griffey in interviews has mentioned perhaps his favorite career moment was the 1995 American League Divisional Series. The Mariners up to this point had never won a division. They had never made the playoffs. And the year after the strike, Griffey had the wrist fracture. So he only played 72 games. But with Griffey out, the Mariners team really pulled together through his absence. They won the American League West with a record of 79 and 66. They would then face in the wild card winning New York Yankees in the playoffs.
Uh-oh.
Now, this is the first year of a wild card in the Major League Baseball playoffs.
Oh.
So 1995, remember that.
Okay.
The Rockies, by the way, were the National League wild card winner. This was an emerging Yankees team. This was not the dynasty that would win 4 straight World Series starting in 1996 the next year. It was Derek Jeter's first year, Don Mattingly's last year, and if they weren't quite the evil empire Yankees at that point, but boy, did Griffey really want to beat them. Griffey once told fans when signing autographs that if the Yankees were the last team to give him a contract, he would retire rather than play with them.
Oh, goodness.
Now, why is that? This stems from his dad, Griffey Sr.'s time with the Yankees in the 80s between his Red stints. His dad did not have a positive experience. And Junior himself remembers an incident when he was in the dugout with his dad during practice and apparently was asked to leave. They didn't, Steinbrenner didn't want kids there. Meanwhile, you look on the field, third baseman Greg Nettles' son is playing ball again, during practice. This was viewed as, by Griffey as racial discrimination. And so he got a bad taste in his mouth. His dad had a bad taste in his mouth. He said he was never going to play for the Yankees, but boy, did he want to beat them. So the Yanks and Mariners met in that divisional series, and despite Griffey's great play, Seattle lost the first two. Then Seattle came back and won the next two. So, of course, it comes to elimination, Game 5, extra innings, bottom of the 11th.
I'm having deja vu from our past two episodes. They're right to the end of the wire here. What happens?
I know. And it's your conspiracy, too.
Watch more games on TV.
Because of network contracts that they go to these, Game 5 or Game 7.
Exactly. Tell me, though. Tell me.
Well, down by 1 run, future Hall of Famer Edgar Martinez. We should do an episode on him.
I'll put it in the digital notebook.
Hit what is now known in Seattle as the double. A shot down the left field line. It brought 2 runs in, including Griffey. And Brooke, you've seen it. What's so special about this play?
What's special about the play is Griffey was on first, and that hit was gone, and Griffey took off, and he just kept running. He went to second, and he just rounded third and made it all the way home, even before Martinez got to second.
I mean, it was an incredible play, and the double is probably considered the greatest play in Mariners history for a few reasons. I mean, first of all, it brought the team to the 1995 American League Championship game. They would lose to the Cleveland Indians, but it's said to have saved baseball in Seattle. At the time, the public support for the team and the Mariners' success was so huge. It led to Washington State funding a new stadium to replace the aging Kingdome. And that stadium would be Safeco Field, which is now T-Mobile Park in Seattle, where the Mariners still play. Sometimes it's called the house that Griffey built. So the next 4 years, Griffey continued to rack up numbers. He led the league in home runs from 1997 to 1999. He helped the Mariners return to the divisional series of the playoffs in 1997. They wouldn't win. And that's the year that Griffey would win the American League MVP. The city of Seattle really thought Griffey would be a lifetime Mariner, and they loved him. But Griffey, now with 2 of his eventually 3 kids, he really wanted to return closer to his family.
Yeah, the family started out in Washington State when he was in Seattle, but when they had the 2 kids, his wife moved the kids to Orlando, Florida during their school years, and the travel was too much for Griffey. He really wanted to be closer to home and at least on the same time zone as the kids were.
So Griffey would go to the Cincinnati Reds. His dad had played with the Reds. He had spent his childhood in Cincinnati and went to high school there. He had 1 more year on his Seattle contract, and they wanted to get some return for him. He signed a 9-year, $112.5 million contract. Cincinnati was pumped because they thought they would return to the form that brought them to the playoffs. They won the World Series in 1990, but had only gone to the playoffs once in the whole next decade in 1995. But Griffey sustained a hamstring injury in 2000 and then season-ending injuries each of the next 3 years. He had hamstring injuries, knee injuries, ankle injuries, shoulder injury. From 2000 to 2007 on the Reds, he would miss 453 games. So almost 3 seasons of baseball.
Wow.
Oof. And though his hitting was still there, he would hit an additional 200 homers in his Red stint, including both his 500th home run and his 600th home run. But injury and times had caused him to slow down, not be the athletic player that people had expected from him. And so many Cincinnati fans felt cheated, frustrated. Some of them even grumbled that Griffey wasn't playing hard. That was probably unfair, obviously. In the end, I think most Red fans appreciated his time there, the excitement of having Griffey there, even if it didn't lead to any playoff appearances. Well, blink and you miss the 3-month stint on the Chicago White Sox in 2008. The Reds traded him midseason. The Sox did not pick up his option at the end of that season, and he became a free agent. And though the Atlanta Braves were in the mix because they were closer to his home in Orlando, he decided to return to Seattle, where he would spend his final 2 seasons. Now, especially in that final season in 2010, Griffey just did not play too well. He was put in less consistently. There was also the bizarre Napgate in May, where 2 anonymous Mariners apparently told the press that Griffey missed a pinch hitting opportunity because he was napping in the clubhouse. Griffey denied it. The manager denied. A lot of players rallied by Griffey. The clubhouse was really in a little bit of turmoil. And by early June, Griffey, again, not playing well, really decided to retire midseason to avoid making a distraction in the clubhouse. So that ended a Hall of Fame career. He was voted in to the Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility in 2016, a then record 99.3% of the vote.
Wow.
Which is very high, but you do have to wonder who those 3 voters of the baseball writers did not vote for him at the time.
Really?
And some people just did that. They just felt that no one should go in on their first year. The numbers were clearly there. He was a 13-time All-Star, a 10-time Gold Glove, the AL MVP in 1997. He now ranks 7th in most career home runs of all time with 630. He ranks 17th on the career RBI list. But just as seismic, besides his playing, was his impact on the city of Seattle and on baseball himself with his image and celebrity. With a smooth swing, winning smile, he exuded cool. And I think all kids of the 1990s, I'm a little old, but so I am told, just were so amazed and influenced by Griffey. He caused a generation to wear their baseball caps backwards to emulate him, a look that Griffey said started wearing his dad's Reds cap, which was too big for his head, so he would wear it backwards.
Listeners, you're going to have to look on YouTube for this. Jerry just turned his hat around, and he's got an adjustable hat on, and it just doesn't have the same impact.
It looks better when you have the flex fit
Exactly.
hat, not the adjustable.
You can turn it
hat.
back now.
All right, I'll turn it. How about to the side?
Oh, no.
Maybe I'll start a new look.
Oh, no.
All right, I'll go. All right,
Thank
now
you.
my hat is back. So in addition to this, he appeared on TV shows, The Simpsons, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
In 1996, Nike, who had had some non-baseball players have shoe deals, including Air Jordans, they decided Ken Griffey would be perfect in their lineup of sneakers. And they made the Air Griffey Max 1. And it had a Velcro strap around the ankle, and it had his number 24 across the strap. It was also produced in a Mariner blue in honor of the Mariners. And this shoe is still in production today.
Yeah, big hit. Fantastic. Yeah. He also had a candy bar.
A candy bar?
Though not as good as the Reggie bar, which I still have not bought from Amazon yet. Maybe tonight. He had a video game in 1994. Ken Griffey Jr. presents Major League Baseball. And as far as baseball cards go, the Upper Deck Baseball Card Company had its inaugural set in 1989. He was chosen as a rookie to be their #1 card. And he wasn't even in a Mariners uniform. They used his minor league San Bernardino Spirit picture and then airbrushed a Mariners cap on, taking a big chance, although, again, he was the #1 pick in the draft.
That's pretty funny. Are they still around? Can you buy one of those?
They're not. Well, I'm sure you can buy one. But no, the San Bernardino Spirit is not around. Upper Deck is.
Right. I meant the card.
Trivia alert, Brooke. The San Bernardino Spirit was a minor league team for only 8 seasons and was owned by NCIS's star Mark Harmon.
Leroy Jethro Gibbs? I've been watching this show. Wow, where did he get the money? He wasn't as pop. Well, I guess he was the sexiest man alive back then.
Yeah, People's Sexiest Man, 1986.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. I knew you'd like that.
I did. Thank you.
I don't know if anyone else on this podcast
Probably
cares.
not, but I'll put a photo of him up.
But it's a good trivia thing.
Yes.
So. Well, today we had quite the look into a huge player in MLB history. Could be the biggest name we've covered yet on the podcast as far as celebrity. And
I think the other players might disagree with you, but that's okay.
They're all great.
They are. They are.
Often on Fungos and Fastballs, we try and get a sense of the person behind the stats. Sure, we know Griffey was a tremendous player, big home run hitter, the human highlight reel, but what of Griffey the person? It can be a little tough to see behind the celebrity of that era. Griffey became a true celebrity in the late 80s and early 1990s, and that was when ESPN cable TV was providing 24-hour exposure. Griffey was tailor-made for this, with his bubble gum blowing, his backwards cap. He was a human highlight reel, as I mentioned, and his winning smile was made for that camera. But this also brought scrutiny, as we saw with his Reds tenure. So in reaction to this, Griffey had seemed like retreated behind a shell. Quotes from contemporaries are no doubt effusive, almost reverential. I got some here. Retired Royal Padre Eric Hosmer said Griffey was the, quote, Michael Jordan of baseball. Former Rockies Carlos Gonzalez speaks about trying to emulate Griffey's swing when he was coming up, and then finally when he met Griffey, he was almost in shock when he shook his hand. Michael Jordan's a good example. Star power, but a lot of privacy that could come off very brusque. Now, Seattle sports recorder Art Thiel notes that Griffey, quote, put people off from time to time. He was great with people he knew, but uncomfortable with crowds and strangers. Yet Thiel said Griffey was great with kids. He took time for Make-A-Wish, Boys and Girls Clubs, with his philanthropy towards pediatric cancer research at Seattle Children's Hospital. He clearly was a big family man, very devoted to his wife and 3 kids. But even the move to Cincinnati from then back to Seattle kind of makes a little less sense to outsiders when Atlanta would have made more sense. We're fans, we judge, we really shouldn't. As a Yankees fan, I find a similar Griffey-type conundrum with Derek Jeter, one of the greatest Yankees, no doubt, but his guarded privacy can appear standoffishness, almost as an arrogance. Jeter amazed me as a player, but do I really know him? Not really. And that's even after watching the 7-part Captain miniseries about his career. In the end, the bigger the celebrity, the more a player sometimes retreats to that privacy, and the less we truly know about that person as fans. And that's probably okay. Well, let's not forget, we're going to end with our trivia question today, or the answer at least, about little Denora, Pennsylvania, the, quote, home of champions, or at least the home of Ken Griffey Jr. and the other Hall of Famer, Cardinals great Stan the Man Musial. So this small town, 2 big stars.
Wow, it's fascinating.
Now, even more trivia, Junior's grandfather, Buddy Griffey, played baseball in high school with Stan Musial.
Oh, small world, small
That's
world.
Right. It's small town.
There you go.
Now, Brooke, before we go, you always like to share quotes that move you. Do you have any?
I do. I have a quote from Griffey that he once said, just because I make it look easy doesn't mean it was, because people saw his swing and said it was so natural, it looked so easy, and he said he worked really hard at that. I watched his Hall of Fame speech, which I really encourage listeners to go and to listen to.
Brooke loves the Hall of Fame speeches.
I do. I was sitting there and just boo-hooing because it was such a wonderful speech. He started out, and within the first minute, he was looking for his tissues, and he blotted his eyes throughout the entire speech. And just what a wonderful man he was to appreciate all of the people that supported him and that encouraged him. They talked, a lot of the players who played with him had quotes on how he gave back wherever he went. I know he talked about his dad during that speech, and he said that he credits his dad with learning how to work really hard, how to look at yourself in the mirror every day and not worry about what others think about you. And then also
His
to
dad was crying too.
his dad was crying, yeah, which got me even more choked up. But he also he said his dad told him that providing for your family was what it means to be a man. Now, this day and age, I'm sure my daughter out there would say, it doesn't have to be male or female, but it still was a very moving part of his speech. And he brings up his wife, Melissa, who's been with him this whole time. And he said that she is the light when it was dark. And we do know he had some struggles early in his career with an attempted suicide. So having her in his life was important. And that he also joked because he said the first time he saw her, he knew that he was going to be her husband, but maybe she didn't know it right away. So I thought that was funny.
She gets a little star turn in a recent Geico commercial.
Yes.
Where the Griffeys move into umpire next door to umpire Jim Joyce, and the umpire keeps looking at the things Griffey's doing as a neighbor and calling him as strikes. So Brooke may put it on social. It's a funny commercial.
I will see what I can do. Yes, Melissa's involved in that.
Yeah. Well, thanks always for joining us today. Thanks to Brooke.
You're welcome.
And shout out to our friend Chantilly, who assured me she'd be listening today. And we're always happy you're listening and hope you keep listening. Don't forget to subscribe on your podcast platform. If you want to see us on video, you can check us out on YouTube. Heading back to the locker room, it's Jerry Dines and Fungos and Fastballs.